Hello, everyone. This is Applied Knowledge. Thank you for joining me. It's been a very long time since I've done one of these videos. I was doing the behind the scenes of audio like series, but then I just completely fell off. I'm going to try to get into these a little more this year and just go from there. But this video is going to be kind of short and I may not be as explained as you would want. That's only because I have 10 minutes. I have a free version of the screen capturing software that I'm using. So I'll try to be as efficient as possible and clarify as much as I can. I'll probably do a lot of it in the descriptions. So yeah, check that out. If you have questions, feel free to comment or just shoot me an email and I'll definitely answer those. But so right now I'm in FL Studio. This is version 9, as you can tell by the mixer. That's because I just personally like it, but yeah, whatever. So I got two reverb plugins. The first one is factory based, made by FL. It's called the Fruity Reverb. The second one is called Ambience, and it's a free download by Smart Electronics. I definitely recommend it. It is very great. I've used it in a lot of sessions. The only thing with it is like, since my computer isn't as strong, it definitely causes a lot of lag because it takes up a lot of CPU, but there's a lot of cool stuff in there. They got a lot of presets. And I mean, as you can see, all these knobs, and they give you a lot to play around with. So yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm just gonna go through the steps that I used. I might not be able to show you everything. I did put in a snare hit, but like I said, because I only had 10 minutes of recording time, I'm gonna try to keep it as short as possible. So this is how to get a better sounding reverb on pretty much whatever you're using. The reason why I didn't open up my session is because I felt like it was more beneficial for you guys watching, just to really do it yourself and not like try to copy me, or that was basically it. Just not trying to copy me, just like trying to be more confident in what you're looking for, and getting the vision that you had in mind. So but these are my steps. So the very first thing I did was mess around with my room size. And keep in mind, like, all these parameters that you see here are obviously going to be different, because even if I load up the ambience plugin, you're going to see some of this stuff is the same. Like Decay, you got the time here, which is going to be the Decay there. Diffusion, which is the same. They got hold here. You got shape, size, predelay, width, all that stuff, which is going to be pretty much the same over here. It's just different names. So we'll close that up real quick. So over here, the very first thing I did was adjusting my room size. And what room size basically is like, it gives you more width or less width of a reverb sound. So it's like, the smaller size I give it, it's probably going to sound like it's more in a room or a closet, versus jacking it all the way up, which is probably going to sound like it's in a theater or an arena or like a cathedral or some big space. So that was the very first thing I did. The second thing I did was adjusting my decay time. Decay should be pretty self-explanatory. That's basically saying how long of a reverb is lasting. So 6.3 seconds is like way overkill to me, but for some people, they just need it. It definitely comes in handy, especially for using automation. You can automate this parameter and have it decay out for a very long time into one of your recordings or whatever the situation. So yeah, I adjusted my room size, and I kind of used that in collection with the decay time, and I came out with this like kind of roomy snare. The next things that I did was I adjusted my low cut and my high cut. This is basically like an EQ in itself, I guess you could call it. So what low cut is basically anything below this number set here will not be there. So it's almost working as it's a high pass filter. So anything below this number is not going to show. And the same thing with high cut, only it's flipped now. So anything above this number will not show. So this is kind of acting as a low pass filter in a sense. So again, anything below this number will not show. Anything above this number will not be there. And those are just frequencies is basically what's happening. So if you understand your frequencies, then you'll understand these numbers. So low cut is pretty much, okay, you're going to add more bass the lower you drop this number. The higher you take this number, you're going to add more frequencies. This is basically all that's happening. So the next thing I messed with was my pre-delay. Sometimes you'll use it, sometimes you won't, depending on what kind of sound you're looking for, like I said. And pre-delay, that's just causing a delay within the reverb. So let's say you got the snare hit, boom. Now what's going to happen, depending on whatever you set this delay time to, it's going to be boom, reverb happens. So let me just try to hurry and give you an example of that. Oh, I had it turned off. Here we go. So that's a pre-delay. It's basically snare hits and then the reverb happens with the delay you can hear on there. So again, room size, decay, low cut, high cut, pre-delay. The next thing I messed around with was I believe it was the color. And you might not have this function on the other plugins that you use, maybe not. So in this one, I think I have like 5 different choices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. So warmer, warm, flat, bright, brighter. So automatically it's set to flat, which means that the bass frequencies are reacting to whatever the low cut and high cut are sitting at, I guess. So warm is pretty much is gonna add like a more like bassy sounding reverb, and warmer is just enhancing that same like bassy sounding reverb. Bright, it's more like kind of like what it says, is just like a brighter reverb and with less bass, and brighter is the same thing, just an enhanced brighter reverb with even lesser bass. But for some reason these sound like more of a cutoff frequency to me. But yeah, I guess you can play around with that if you're in FL2. So again, room size, decay, low cut, high cut, pre-delay if I used it, and color if I do use it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. A lot of times I'll just leave it at flat just because that's just what it is. So obviously your reverb, this is just like the wet dry. So the more you add, 100%, it's going to be super wet. You take it out, it's going to be pretty dry. I guess I recommend setting it to sometimes 100. That way it's all there, and then using this mix knob here to feed however much you want in. But like I said, it can be different. You can do the same thing here. That way, set this knob to 100 and then feed however much you want there. It's completely up to you. I guess that was really it. The high damping, I don't believe I used. That's kind of, to me, it kind of works as like the high filter. It's like the more I give it, the more high frequencies are going to show. And then the less I give it, the less that's going to be there. So hopefully this helps. So again, my steps were, start off with your room size. How wide do you want it? Next, adjust your decay. How long do you want it? The shorter it's going to be, well, the longer it is, the longer it's going to last. The shorter it is, the shorter it's going to last. High cut, low cut, those two should work together like an EQ. You know, the less low cut you have in it, the more bass is going to show. The more high cut you have in it, the more high frequencies are going to show. Pre-delay, if you need to use it, I think it sounds pretty cool in some situations. Basically, it's just that delayed reverb sound that comes on after a snare hits or a drum kick hits or whatever you're using, a synth or whatever. I believe that, oh yeah, color, texture, whatever. This can also act as like an EQ too, if you're familiar with like your frequencies and stuff. Like you can even filter out some frequencies